So what do I think about the COVID-19 virus? So there's some thoughts to come here. First of all, though, I need to put in a disclaimer because despite what people say, never mention politics and religion, they come into almost every walk of life in one form or another. So the disclaimer is that in this there may be, who knows, some politics and there may be some religion. We will see. So who am I? I'm Dave Hurr and I'm a 74-year-old asthmatic. And the reason I mention it is because never before have I been so pleased to be labelled. Because I am asthmatic and old, I was able to buy hand sanitizer in Boots. They had them behind the counter and I got one. How about that? So it's a beautiful label. 74 years old and asthmatic. What do I do? Well, what I did do was I was a teacher, a middle manager in a school, and I thoroughly enjoyed it so that I worked beyond 60 when I could have retired to 64 and a half. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, had a most wonderful time. And we still now have friends who I used to teach, but of course, many of those have now got their own families. What else do I do? Well, now we love to travel, but of course we're talking about Corona or COVID-19, and now of course we can't travel. We can't travel anywhere, so consequently that's messed up the travel. If you are vaguely interested, have a look on my YouTube, that's Dave Hurr, and you will see all our travels of China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Cuba, all over the place. You will be able to see that we were travellers. But this COVID has really trimmed our wings. What else am I? I'm a poet. And I have also, I'm a YouTuber, so there are two channels that I have. One is Dave Hurr and Dave Hurr Poetry and Themes, I think it's called. And I'll write all sorts of poetry. Some of it rhymes, some of it doesn't. Some of it is angry and some of it is stupid in the form of limericks. But the grandchildren like that. I love to do DIY, and since the crackdown and we've all had to stay home, I've done all sorts of things. One of the things that happened was when we used to come out through the conservatory into the garage, you'd sometimes go back with some beers and Irene would say, can you bring me some of this? I'll get some stuff out of the fridge in the garage, and in I come, and I've got arms full, and I then put the stuff on a table, get the door locked and come indoors to realise I've left the light on in the garage. So what I've done is I've put in an extra switch. There are now 4 switches to turn the lights on in the garage, and of course one of them is in the garage, is in the kitchen, so we can turn on the lights in the garage from the kitchen, and that means you haven't got to remember to turn them off until you come indoors. I've also added some more sockets in the garage because what I've been doing, when I blow the tyres up on the car, there's a big trailing lead and it's a bit dangerous, so now I can put the thing beside each socket and blow the tyres up. I've also altered some downpipe from a bit of troughing that I've got. I've also made a lean-to put the garden chairs under. My wife said she would like the garden chairs easily accessible, so that's what we've done. And then I've also put down a bit of a patio area with some slabs to put the chairs and tables on so we can sit out there, have a nice cup of tea. What else have I done? Probably several other things that I can't actually remember. I'm also a diarist. I write a diary every day and I love messing about with maths. So what I've done there is I've been following the COVID virus each day with the numbers of deaths in total, the number of cases in total, and also the per day figures. And what it's shown me is that for the last 3 days, the per day deaths have actually peaked and are beginning to come down. I don't think they're going to announce that because everybody will be out and about again thinking, hey, there's no problem, we're over it. Well, we're not. But the numbers are definitely coming down. The other thing I like to do is to go raving. I go to a fabulous place with lots of friends and we're out there. I wouldn't call it dancing, leaping is perhaps more the term, leaping until 5 a.m. in the morning. You may have guessed from all of this that I'm a bit quiet and reserved. Shy is not the word. Actually, I'm quite out there, but also we are theatre goers. We've been to lots of, the last one, we went to one just before the lockdown in Birmingham, wondering, sort of looking at the people we were sitting next to. The theatre was full. We were wondering, oh, has anybody got it? Has anybody got it? And we thought, whatever. I also love hiking. I go for about 8 to 10 kilometres normally. At the moment, we're obviously more restricted, 8 to 10 kilometres a day. And I go to London 3 or 4 times a year. And when I'm there, I usually have a meal somewhere during the day, probably towards the evening, in a fabulous Mexican restaurant in Leicester Square. And I walk for 9 hours. So that's me. But of course, most of that has been stopped, but not the YouTubing. So how am I coping? Well, how does it make me feel? Well, it doesn't make me feel any different. I get up every day and look forward to chatting to friends around the world. But that's not different. That's normal. And one particular friend in New Delhi, our wonderful friend Raj, we chat to every single day. And then I put up what we call Happy Chat, and we just have lots of laughs. Not because of the virus, but despite the virus. Happiness is a choice that we can make. It really is a choice. We can always look at our circumstances and be down. But the big problem is when you look at circumstances you can't change, you're heading towards depression. And so look at the circumstances you can change. You can muck about, you can have a laugh, you can do something stupid on YouTube. There's all sorts of things that you can do. So how does it make me feel? Probably there was a little bit of initial irritation. Why? Because we would normally this time of year be travelling out and going to lots and lots of National Trust and English heritage sites and filming for YouTube to see all these lovely flowers and gardens and buildings. Whereas now I've only got 2 local walks to do. I enjoy them. They're nice up through our woods, and we're very fortunate that in this lockdown situation we have woods on our doorstep. But there we go. But then after the initial mild irritation, I had to start to think about my faith. My wife and I have a strong Christian faith. Told you there'd be some religion. And I realised that we walk by faith and not by sight. This is not going to be a sermon, but at the end of the day, that's what we believe. We believe that God, our Heavenly Father, is in charge of our lives, not human beings, not even the virus. So what happens will happen. So that means that it's not my department. I don't need to worry about it. That's in somebody else's hands. So how do we keep ourselves protected? Well, I saw something today from my friend in India. There is a place in India right out in the sticks, and these women who have to queue to get water have got little circles all the way back across the area where they are to separate them from the next people. And it's fascinating to see how they had the brains to know that they needed to self-isolate and make sections between them when they were going to the pump to pump the water. And so how do we keep safe? My wife and I obey the rules. And if these ladies, who probably are not well educated, can do it because they have good brains, it's just a great big pity that some of the idiots in our country who can't manage to do it can't see the logic. It's not about them, whether they care about it. It's about the poor staff who are overwhelmed and watching people die. That's why we self-isolate. That's why we obey the rules. And what I'd like to say to those idiots is, save up and buy yourself a couple more brain cells, and then you won't be putting these poor nurses and doctors under so much strain. Have I been tested for COVID-19? Answer, no. Are there any plans? No. Are there any symptoms? No. So hopefully if we keep doing the rules, one never knows, but if we keep doing the rules, we should be okay. Well, it says, what do you think about the NHS in regards to the current coronavirus? Well, aren't they champions all? On my YouTube, you can see us clapping. I've got some instruments that we bought when we were in Cuba, and we're out in the streets rattling these for the NHS. They are true heroes. We've got them in our road. NHS folks just 2 doors down. They're on the front line, giving their all, knowing that they are walking into danger. Here comes the politics. If these dumb politicians can't get masks, I went on the internet today. I don't want a mask because we're obeying the rules. I went on the internet today and I could see you could buy these masks for next to nothing. £9 for I don't know how many. But the thicky politicians can't get them. And the people who should have proper SSE are risking their lives daily with masks they've got from homeware or from DIY shops and goggles from DIY shops. These politicians are going to have a lot to answer for when this is all over. Boy, are they. I hope people have memories and can remember how they couldn't get this SSE stuff when other countries have got it. Also, how late we were to do anything about it. How we lagged other countries. Oh, I don't think we need to do it yet. Oh, no, we're taking the best advice. You're taking the best advice. Why not look at the examples of the countries who were doing it properly, like South Korea, you bunch of half-wits? What do I think about the NHS? They're the champions. What do I think about politicians? Imbeciles, quite a lot of them. Nutters, thinking more about money than anything else. But the NHS is so valuable. And what do I hope that will come out of this? I hope that what will come out of this is that politicians will start to realise how much all of us need the NHS and how valuable it is to the whole of society, not just the rich in their private hospitals. And so I hope that will come out of it, that people will love the NHS more, will value it, and people will vote for parties that support the NHS, not the ones who have spent years cutting. So we're short of doctors and nurses. We need in the NHS what we need. And they've now done it. But of course, the funniest thing is, there they were, damning Jeremy Corbyn. And I wasn't a fan particularly of Jeremy Corbyn, but they damned him. They said, oh, he's a radical communist and all the rest. These fascist newspapers. It turns out that the right-wing Tory government we've got now has done exactly what he wanted. We've nationalised the hospitals. Private hospitals are now under government control. The transport is under government control, and so much else in our land now is under government control. So maybe I hope that they will learn something from this. That instead of subsidising all these private companies with their mates in them running them, they can run them privately, in public ownership, a lot cheaper. I think I may have said private there. I meant public ownership. So what else? Maybe we'll value our friends and families more. And for me, simply being able to get back to hug people will be lovely. And getting to be able to sit back and do nothing without the frustrating thing of thinking, I can't go anywhere, I might as well sit back. Appreciating a simple walk, and instead of distancing, being able to just pat the dogs, not wondering who patted it before you patted it. And of course, the big thing, the big positive out of this is, let's think about the parties they're going to be when this is all done, getting back to partying again. What a time. Well, thank you so much, Olivia, for asking me to do this. You may have got more than you bargained for, but then I am a 73-year-old asthmatic. I think I may have said 74 at the beginning, but that's a function of age. Who knows who I am? Bye for now, and thank you for watching.